Let's talk about how Chris saved us and got us memberships. Go ahead, Chris. Take the credit.
I, I went on there. What happened is they approved us for these members, but then at the same time, you didn't enable it. I know that sounds stupid, but you had to go into the app and actually enable it. So now people can actually subscribe and join as members. I saw that you
Wow.
created it. You created the membership tier. I saw that, but you didn't enable it, so no one could join.
Wow. That is so sad. That's hilarious. Well, we did get about 20 new subscribers from the Jeremy podcast yesterday.
Yep.
So shout out to Jeremy. Everyone really enjoyed that podcast. I saw in the comments, people really liked it. So Jeremy did a great job, ran through a bunch of models, and it was fun. It was a fun podcast. Futtbucker, George, Ian, Astricus, Scott, what's up, everybody?
I'm having an issue. I'll come back.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Chris, why is the 10-year at 4.7%?
Mainly because a lot of people are starting to buy into the higher for longer narrative. I'm not so sure I believe in it. I think AI is one of those things that, anytime you have new technology come around, it's really deflationary. And so, I'm on the other side of this. I think a lot of this 10-year movement is caused by two things. One is this higher for longer narrative. And then on top of it, just our national debt is so high. All the traditional buyers of our national debt seem to have kind of vamoosed, which means that a lot of that now has to be done by the public, which means that naturally the prices of the 10-year are going to be elevated, So, yeah, we got to get our fiscal house in order, man. This is just how it is.
But you think go ahead, Vitaly, go ahead.
Oh, that's a question. Isn't the Fed the buyer of all of these bonds? Isn't that what we always say?
Can we have an actual breakdown? Because I think everyone's confused. Who the fuck is buying these bonds? What does it mean when you're getting a yield on them? Who's paying the yield? Can you actually break it down for us in third grade terms?
Okay. So the Treasury issues out debt, right? So that's how you fund the government. The Federal Reserve can be a buyer of last resort, which they can buy some of these bonds in the open market. And basically now it's sitting on the Fed's balance sheet. Now, yes, there are other people that can buy this. Usually the Treasury has auctions all the time. There's a lot of demand to buy these bonds usually because it's considered a safe asset. So foreign governments can buy them, corporations can buy them, individuals, me and you can go on Treasury Direct and buy it ourselves if we really wanted to, right? ETFs buy it, hedge funds buy them, everyone buys treasuries. It's a cash-like position, but usually the ones that they buy are usually short-term in nature, right? So you don't typically buy really long duration treasuries. Majority of those long duration treasuries are usually bought up by like governments and stuff looking to, build up reserves. And what you're seeing now is that because we have so much debt, this debt has to constantly keep rolling over. So every 2 years, if you look at all the maturities that the US government owes, you can see that because we have so much debt, every time that, we try to finance new debt, it's going to cost us something, right? The interest is paid by the tax receipts, by you, me, Vitaly, whatever. We end up paying taxes. So the money goes from there. So that's what it is. Some of it, of course, the Social Security Department buys as a way to, invest in.
So if I buy $100,000 of the 10-year bond, I get 4%, 4.7 on that 100,000, correct?
Well, yeah.
In 1 year, I get 4.7%.
Yes.
So the government has to take my $100,000 and they spend it, and then they have to pay me back $104,000.
Correct. If you have a 1-year treasury, they pay you 104 at the end of it. Yes.
So where do they get that 4,000 of interest to pay me? How do they pay me that?
From your taxes. That's how. From your taxes, my taxes, the tax receipts. And sometimes from additional borrowing.
So I know you're saying that, but that's not the way it works. Our taxes do not go for roads. I agree with you there. They go to pay interest. That's true. But the reason we can pay all this interest is because they keep printing more money. That's why we can keep
right. So the whole cycle ends up repeating itself.
It's a cycle.
So this is why we should buy Bitcoin.
Inflation is integrated into this cycle, and we cannot. So people who are looking for the hard currency, okay, people who are looking for like gold to come back and represents what money is never going to happen, because then the government can't do everything it wants to do. So So, Chris, I agree with you on the part of it, but the other part is just they keep printing more money to pay off the debt. That's also just ingrained in the system.
Right. And usually the Fed does that. The Federal Reserve is the one that does all the printing for us on our behalf. They print the money and then they buy these treasuries up. So,
did you know, Amit, that the Fed is not a government organization?
Yeah, they're supposed to be very apolitical and separate. That's what I've heard, right? They're not
I'm
like
saying it's not like you're thinking of it's like, you know, we have government actual organizations, like three branches of government. It is actually not. It is a private quasi-government play, of course, but it is not an actual. It's not part of our government.
But doesn't the government pay the salary of Jerome Powell and these guys?
No, I don't believe he does. Nope.
Oh wow,
That's not how it
interesting.
works. Yeah, and it's a weird central bank type of a thing that happened in the 30s when all the central bankers met up on this island to discuss how we can get a central bank in the United States. And so there's a whole good story there that the way they usurped our whole system.
Interesting. Okay, so 4.7 is high. I think that's why we saw the markets fall down a little bit today. I mean, some stocks did well, some stocks didn't. VITALY, I think, and I know you wanted to talk about some big tech stocks. Let's get into that right now, and then we'll move on to some other.
Well, I wanted to share something because I finally finished my taxes today. I was so happy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It takes me a while, and I actually have an accountant, but he's not. There's just too many transactions to go through. There's no way.
How much money did you make this year?
I'm not going to go into all that, but I'm going to tell you what I spent on some big tech. I'll tell you that part of it. So let me show you this. This is just interesting. I'm going to bring up just a small little graph that I did before this pod.
And your taxes goes through your own business, right? Like you're not paying, like you have an LLC and all that stuff. I would imagine.
Several.
Okay.
But so this is just across some accounts. I put together what I spent on the big players, including PayPal. And so Apple is taking a good chunk of my money because, like, you know, you buy a computer, you buy an iPhone, whatever it is, $7,300 plus all the services that are a part of it. Amazon took 30,000, not 24,000. So it went up after I started doing more, 29,000 and change. Google was at $100 because I'm a developer under Android, and so you pay them $100 a year to be in their development program. And PayPal, when I say PayPal, I mean like those are the transactions through PayPal, right? So yeah, $4,200. But this
you don't
is
have
kind
YouTube Premium? You don't have YouTube Premium?
I don't have YouTube Premium, no.
Okay.
No, yeah, Amit hasn't paid me enough yet for me to afford YouTube Premium. maybe next year.
Wait, so you sit through the ads on YouTube? That's interesting.
No, actually, so I don't want to tell people, but there's ad blockers. Like you don't need to sit through the ads.
You get paid by ad revenue on YouTube, and then you're telling people to use ad blockers.
Guys, don't use ad blockers.
That's insane, bro. But there's so many hundreds of millions of people like you, and YouTube still makes $30 billion a year.
Yeah. Eventually, I will, of course, but right now I don't. So isn't that crazy? First of all, Apple, I was surprised that I spent that much on Apple, and it shows why they are worth $3 trillion because look at the amount of money, you know, with computers and services and all that, it adds up real quick. And you don't count the $10-$20 you're paying each time, but it adds up, even part of the services. And PayPal, I also was just curious, am I actually using PayPal a lot? Because before I invested heavily, and yeah, the 2022 was $4,000 through PayPal. So I assume they get a percentage of this, a small percentage, whatever it is, 2%, 3%, right? Or 1% or whatever they're making. I'm not sure.
30 grand on Amazon's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah,
granted, you're buying high level shit for.
But the thing is, you have to remember, it's all about margins, right? Like, what is the total margin that Amazon makes on that $30,000? If you look at it just purely based on their current retailing, footprint, it's about 4%. So whatever VITALY spent on, if you multiply, like if you, let's say, took that same spreadsheet and you multiplied it by what their margins are, it would look completely different. Because now what ends up happening is that 30,000, if you multiply by 4%, that is what that is what Amazon's cut is technically going to be after all the stuff that they have to provide and stuff. And then after that, you look at Apple. Apple has margins that are 70-80%. So they're making a buttload of money. And then Google, because it's technically just a service as an Android developer, it's 100% margin. So you don't really have much to go with there. So each and everything has different margins. Like PayPal, I think PayPal has very few, like very low margins compared to the
Mhm.
others. So if you did it based on their operating margins, their gross margins, their operating income, or operating margins, you can see like how much they actually made money. And the one that would actually win out is probably Apple. Apple would make a killing on that.
Well, if you look at it, I mean, it's sort of deceptive. So I was thinking about this as I was putting it down. I was like, wow, only $100 on Google, but you got to think we are worth to Google that $7,000. So whatever I'm spending on Apple, maybe not exactly that, but that's how much they're getting off of us. I'm not sure what it is. What is it per thousand people, the CPM or whatever it works out to be, but we are worth some amount of money, and I think it's in the thousands of dollars to Google.
No, each
Yeah.
person is definitely worth a good amount of money. I mean,
Does Google break that out? Does Google actually break that out? What is a person worth? Because I think Meta does.
Meta does, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Google
Mm,
does. Because
yeah.
Google would have to add Gmail and all that stuff, and it gets complicated when they put it together.
But they know.
Yeah.
The thing is, they must know.
They definitely know. They definitely know.
Yeah.
I would say
Okay.
thousands of dollars as well, because $100, like I spent $100, and it wasn't even something I had to spend money on. It was like so.
Yeah, because in Gmail, you get ads in Gmail. You get like sponsored ads and stuff. Maybe you don't click on it that often, but if you just click, there's like tons of ads there, and advertisers pay to show up in your Gmail.
I think Gmail got rid of their ads
No
internally
way.
for Gmail.
Did they?
I think Gmail part is
No, right here,
gone.
promotions. If you click,
Yeah. No. Promotions is your stuff.
Nah,
that
bro.
goes in-
There's an ad for Elf Cosmetics. Look at this shit. There's
Oh, okay. All right.
They got it right there. Fios Home Internet, Elf's Cosmetic ads.
That's
Incredible.
a Google ad.
Incredible. Yep.
Okay.
And promotions of Gmail. Yep. If I click it right now, Elf is gonna get. Yep. I just clicked it. So Elf has to pay Google for that. Okay. Speaking of Apple and Google, so Bloomberg reported today Apple is looking to kick Google off their platform, and they're pretty serious about this, even though they've been serious for a long time. But apparently, the quote was, "It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when." The question is, do you think Apple could be successful with their own search engine by upselling services and maybe competing with Google for the ad market, given they're already getting to ads into a bunch of other places
So
that they own?
before you go there, can I share this other thing I was reading?
Yes.
So you're pointing out that they want to kick them off, and here's Apple defends Google's search deal in court. There wasn't a valid alternative, and I highlighted some stuff, but basically, here's a good little part. A Justice Department lawyer asked Q, which is I think it's Eddie Q from Apple, if he would have walked away from the deal if the two sides couldn't agree on a revenue share figure. Q said he'd never really considered that an option. I always felt that it was in Google's best interest and our best interest to get a deal done. So you're telling me now they've reversed this? What they've said like a week ago?
I mean, Bloomberg said
No. So the way that it came, let me just show you what they actually put. Apple said that they will be ready just in case Google loses the DOJ lawsuit. Apple would prefer to keep things the same way it is right now, because right now Google is paying Apple close to $8 billion a year to be just a default search engine. Apple does not have to do anything right now. Literally, Apple does absolutely nothing, and they get $8 billion a year from Google. So they get a check. There's no hiring anyone. There's nothing. If Google were to be taken off, the DOJ said you're not allowed to do this anymore. That means that Apple would have to build out their own infrastructure, their search and everything else. They have to hire their own people. They have to market their search engine. People might not like their search engine. As an example, Apple did try to go in on its own using Apple Maps. How many people here like Apple Maps?
I love
Yeah.
Apple Maps. Okay, that's a contrary. I hate Google Maps. Apple Maps is the best. But
What?
No, it's
Most
terrible,
people don't
dude.
like
What are you talking about?
I love Apple Maps, bro. Google Maps is the most annoying thing.
Well,
in
he
the world.
goes from the basement to the first floor, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really count.
Yeah. So at that point, this is beneficial. This is if, let's say, the decision comes down, Apple is just telling people we are going to be ready just in case,
Right.
because that is.
And
a
who are they going to?
possibility.
Microsoft? The other? I mean, who are they going? Like
They
another
can't go to
monopoly?
Microsoft. They can't go to Microsoft because then it would be the same problem. Because then Apple would need to actually pay.
Told you.
Microsoft would actually have to pay Apple. So you can't even do that. So Satya Nadella right now is just trying to break Google's monopoly on search, so that they want to
Okay, so
get
let's
big
talk about
more
what
out there.
Satya said. Satya said Satya said people wake up in the morning, they brush their teeth, and they use Google search. So he said there's no competition at all. Do you think he's salty that the ChatGPT didn't make them dance at the prom or whatever metaphor he used.
I don't know why
Pretty
Satya
much.
Nadella is getting involved in this, considering he's a monopolist. I don't understand. You shouldn't be shitting on other monopolies when you're a monopolist. In fact, he just bought Activision or is buying Activision, and that's not being stopped. Like, you should stay out of this. Like, honestly, that's ridiculous.
Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft's like one of the biggest monopolies in enterprise hardware. I mean, enterprise software. Like, go to any company, you wake up, you go to work, any company you work at is probably going to have Microsoft Windows as a login.
100%.
You know,
yeah.
So
look at him. He's like serious about it. He says it's really the Google web. Microsoft CEO testifies how hard it is to break into search.
My God, this guy
he's pretty upset. He also described Microsoft's pitch to pay billions to Apple to replace Google with Bing. Oh, wow. So
there you go. There you go.
Bro, I would.
I mean, if I was Google, I'd be furious. I would go even harder after like making, like all the services they have for like the Excel products, Google Sheets and Google spreadsheets, and they should go hard after these guys for Satya Nadella is being a little bit arrogant here by, getting involved.
Yeah. So no, I agree. I think Google right now is probably like, oh, you want to play this game? Let's play this game. Like, usually Microsoft has been the main guys in the enterprise space, and Google's kind of just been like more on the consumer side of things. But, I don't know who's stepping on whose toes, but each one right now is at least giving the perception that now they're gonna try to cannibalize each other's market. So Google right now, growing GCP, it's gonna come at the cost of Azure and AWS. Probably more Azure than anything else, in my opinion. And at the same time, Microsoft is saying, look, we want to get more search business. We want to get into the ads business. It's surprising because the other day I actually saw like on CBS like I was watching TV and I saw like something powered by Bing. And I was like, what? Like, huh? I didn't see that coming.
Tesla Maps is better, by the way. I did read about this. Master Goma said, if you could bring up that comment, I don't know.
Yeah.
But so Tesla uses Google's maps. They just augmented with their own internal, I guess they're keeping track of things. So they are making it better, by the way. I do prefer using Tesla's maps, but they're using Google services to get those maps.
Okay. I'm going to do a poll for Google versus Apple Maps in the chat. While I'm doing that, I think we transition to...
I don't know who would use Apple Maps. Like, Google has literally mapped everything. Like, I don't know why you would even...
I don't know, bro. There's something about it. It's just like, I've used it every day. Like, I really like Apple Maps.
Okay.
It's very simple. I don't know. I guess
for you to what? To get to the gym?
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't. I
mean, like, what are you using?
But like, if I'm going to my side chick's house and like I don't know where it is, like I just plug it in.
Well, now we know this is imaginary.
Yeah, exactly. He's basically disagreeing to disagree right now. That's
I actually do travel in a car to many places, and
I do like Apple Maps. I mean, I travel to I traveled to Connecticut once for like a work thing, and I definitely got lost for like 6 hours
with Apple Maps.
You guys are probably right, but outside of that situation, everything's been the best.
It's the simplicity. You don't get to your destination, but it's simple.
Google is definitely uglier. Apple is definitely better. Maybe Google is better function wise, but it's definitely uglier. Okay, so Chris, let's. You've been tweeting like a madman about this whole deflation narrative. Let's discuss that. Why are you right and everyone else is wrong about massive levels of deflation starting to happen?
Because I'm from the future. I mean, isn't that this?
I was like, what egotistical thing is he about to do?
No,
did Kelly just jack our poll, bro? Did she jack our poll and she's using our audience to?
What?
It's fine. It's fine.
Wow. Jack our poll.
She's a member. She's paying us to be on here. No, it's all good. Jack as many polls you want.
She's stealing subscribers.
Jack as many polls
stealing her ideas. She's like, it's great.
No,
we're training her model.
So as I'm seeing real-time data is way different than the lag data that the Fed uses, to make determinations. So everything I see right now, is pointing towards a deflationary environment coming up. Like you're starting to see real estate prices correct in Europe. That's going to happen to us. You're starting to see like commodity prices of things that are heavy input costs. They're starting to go down significantly. So it's almost like, look, you look at the real-time data, and then eventually when you look at the data that comes out from the Fed, which is lagged behind, it's like, oh my God, now you can actually get a better judgment for what's there. You're also seeing a lot of headlines and economic slowdowns. You're seeing that with companies that are scaling back their capital expenses. These are things that, like, if you take like all of it and you aggregate it together, you can actually get a better picture of what's actually happening. So if you, that's why I like the Truflation data, because Truflation is using a lot of data points from a lot of independent providers, whereas the Fed, literally the Fed is doing like fucking surveys. Like, you know how they get their data? It's literally surveys. Which,
okay, so I want to go through a couple of your tweets and just give me the TLDR on each of them. So these are the oil prices. Why is one day when oil is down, why does this automatically mean deflation?
So this is just as an example of one thing, but if you look at like a lot of the headlines that have been coming out with regards to the Iranians producing more oil, like you saw, you're on my Patreon, so you see all the data. You see Venezuela, same thing, oil is ramping up. You see the US, oil is ramping up. So these are the things that are data points that are pointing towards a topping out of oil prices. So I don't think there's much room for further expansion. I know that people keep saying oil is going to get to 150. I'm like, bro, the world is awash in oil right now. It's just that at certain prices, things become more economical. At $50, fracking in some parts of the country is not profitable, so most people won't do it. At 70, it is. So more frackers will get into the business. At 100, all fracking projects are profitable to another degree. So everyone's going to have an incentive to utilize the acreage that they have. So these are the kinds of things that happen. And so eventually you can determine a good price where you think that things are going to be capped off at.
What about
I think right now oil is
employer
capped
scaling
off.
back bonuses? Why does this mean?
Because right now every employer is trying to figure out how they're going to pay the higher interest costs that they have on their debt.
What does that say?
You know,
it's just a headline from Bloomberg that employers are.
Yeah, so companies are trimming their budget for merit raises because the last 2 years, in order to keep high-level employees, in a tight labor market, they had to pay more. They had to entice people with more bonuses. Right now, you're starting to see the number of job openings is starting to slow down, which means that employers now have a little bit more leverage in doing negotiations for salaries and for pay. So instead of offering these highfalutin bonuses that they had to offer a couple of years ago just to hire an employee, now they're on the other side of it saying, hey, if you want to leave, you can leave,
Okay, and then student loans. This is also something you think is that deflationary because eventually some discretionary income is going to leave, right?
Yeah, 40 million Americans. That's a significant portion of the U.S. population is now going to have to restart their loan payments. I know that to some degree, some people are saying, well, you know what? There is no real consequence for the people. But unlike the past 3 years where none of that other additional interest was accruing, now the interest is going to start accruing and people are going to end up having to deal with the ramifications of it. There were an example. I think there was I think it was Bloomberg. I'll pull the video up. But basically, people, instead of saving money to pay down their student loans for the last 3 years, you know what they were doing? They were buying houses. They were buying cars. So now, I mean, you get an opportunity. It's crazy,
especially for like 100,000 in loans, like that stuff.
So no, I mean, it just goes to show that like now people are going to have to confront this all at the same time.
But do you think all this is going to trigger a recession?
Hold on, there's a little nuance there. I think it doesn't start today. I think it's still like a year away, right? What is the actual date?
It starts today. If you don't pay it for a year, you're not going to be penalized, but millions of people will definitely have to pay it. I mean,
yeah. So in a year, basically, we still have a year of this to play out.
Like I have 10,000 in student loans. I'm making my first payment in October. I'm not going to wait.
You're one of the smart ones.
Yeah, but there are some smart people, I would imagine, because like I don't know if that's going to fuck my credit. Biden says it doesn't fuck my credit, but I don't believe him, right? Like,
first of all, I agree with you. If the loans are going to start, it's better to just pay them off. But I don't know if a lot of people are thinking that way.
Well, also interest is going to start accruing. That's the other thing too, right? So why pay interest on something that's,
so this is a year leeway, but interest accrues?
Yes.
Okay, that's a big deal.
After a 3-year pause.
Let me just, right here. Sorry.
Both on a payment pause. It's like, let's.
With her $440 in monthly student debt payments on hold, Wood started putting aside savings for her twin daughter's education.
My husband and I sat down and with us both on a payment pause, it's like, let's put whatever we can towards our daughter's 529s.
Her hope,
interest is 7.65.
that her daughters won't be burdened with student debt like hers, totaling more than $180,000.
What does that number mean to you?
It's this thing that I am probably the most ashamed of in my life. We have to think of and we have to budget for every day, and we have to budget for the future consequences of this loan every single day.
Now, with payments due, Wood says she will forego saving for her daughter's future education fund to pay off her own.
You need to live in a house, you need to pay groceries, you need to eat. And then from
Those
there
kids
on,
don't
you
need to
kinda
go to
have figure out what else you can save.
It's a harsh reality for 28 million borrowers like Wood. The government's years-long pandemic freeze on student loan payments ends today. The average federal student loan borrower owes more than $37,000 in debt.
For most student loan borrowers, what it means is that they got to make some hard choices.
I really want stability for us.
33-year-old Michael Lopez in Anaheim, California, is a first-generation college graduate who went on to get his master's in social work and now owes about $240,000 in
Bruh.
student debt.
USC is expensive.
240,000 in debt, dude. And you're a social worker. Social workers don't exactly make a lot
They
of
said he was
money.
a social worker, and I
He's a
didn't hear that
social
part.
worker.
Oh man,
Yeah, he's a
that's
social
terrible.
Bro.
He shouldn't have gone to
He
USC
says
for
the
that.
freeze on
Yeah, why the
well,
fuck would you go to USC to learn how to do social work?
All right, let's keep going because this is gonna get more interesting.
payments opened up an avenue to another major first in his family,
And this is your house.
buying a home with his wife.
There you
A
go.
baby now on the way.
Idiot.
Like, I don't know if we'll ever own a home.
He bought a home.
And the fact that we were able to do that because of the pause was just like, I mean, mind blowing.
Lopez followed every twist and turn of the pause, hoping it could lead to broader student debt reform.
I've become more plugged into politics than I ever have in my life.
As a presidential candidate, Joe Biden pledged
my
he would
God.
cancel thousands of dollars in student debt, eventually following through a year and a half into his term.
Using the authority Congress granted the Department of Education, we will forgive $10,000 in outstanding federal student
That's not even
loans.
making a debt in the
10 months
200K. That's
later,
the
the
problem.
Supreme Court struck down the plan, leaving Lopez and millions of borrowers like him disappointed.
Do you feel like President Biden let you down?
In some ways, yes. I also recognize nobody's perfect. You can't get it 100% right. But that's also why, you know,
I like
he's
this guy.
president, like that responsibility is
Bro,
on
instead of blaming
Critics of
himself,
loan
he's like, nobody's
forgiveness,
perfect.
especially with student debt, say so many Americans had to pay their own debt. Why should this generation be any different?
Yes, there are folks who have worked for it and we're able to pay. Mind you, some of those folks paid a lot less than what we're paying these days. But you know, that's a privilege to be able to do that, right?
After the Supreme Court
Buy SoFi, folks. Buy
Was
SoFi.
that the answer?
So number one, that's a crazy amount of debt to take on for relatively the income that you're going to end up getting. Now, some of it I granted he's going to end up being on an IDR, so an income driven plan. So he's not going to like go completely homeless and broke. Like that's not going to happen. The thing is though, that debt is going to be a permanent thing on him for the next, I don't know, 30, 40 years if he depends. Well, technically speaking,
His
he
whole
could-
life, bro. He's not paying that shit off.
Yeah, with his
He
forever.
could, he could eventually do like PSLF, like public student loan forgiveness if he works
That,
for
that
like
only works after
a
20
public
years.
fund. 10
Oh,
years
10
of
years,
public.
okay.
Yeah. So there are ways around it that he could probably navigate and get things done. But it just goes to show that now, at least for the next 10 years, he's going to end up having to pay a portion of his income, and that's going to sap away buying power. If that saps away buying power, maybe they don't get the iPhone this year. Maybe instead they just hang on to their Google Pixel. I don't know. You know, like these are the kinds of things that are eventually going to make its way into like the consumer markets. So yeah, it's just
the thing is that's standard fare. Like it was
Yeah.
weird not to be able to, for them not to have to pay their loans. That was the weird part of it, right?
well, yeah.
So-
and last year it was they didn't even have to pay the fucking rent. In New York City, there's still people
There's
not
a lot
paying
of
their
people,
rent after
yeah.
3 years. Like one of my buddies,
I don't get that at all.
one of my buddies right now, he's literally like, I don't know what to do. He's about to declare bankruptcy in the city right now. He rented to somebody. He's been in and out of
Was
housing
it a
court for the
condo?
last 9 months. Huh? No.
Was it
He
a
owns
condo?
he owns a townhouse, right?
Okay.
He owns a townhouse. He rented out two of the apartments in it, and he's living in one. So he thought, oh, this is going to be a great deal for me, blah, blah, blah. Dude, the other two guys, one stopped paying, and the minute the other guy found out, he stopped paying too. So he's been in and out of housing court for the last year because the moratorium was active for like a year and a half, right? And he still got to pay property taxes, water, utility,
nothing goes away.
heating. Nothing goes away. And if you try to like cut that stuff away, the Department of Housing will come after you and fine you, bro. He got almost $10,000 in tickets from New York City Sanitation because his tenants were just leaving their trash in the front without like bagging it up and all this other stuff. Yeah,
I know. I agree with you. This is a real problem. That if New York City is not handling this and making homeowners go bankrupt, that's really messed up. That shouldn't happen. But I want to point out a second thing, that I think your buddy never did the proper checks for his tenants. The fact that he got such people have so little respect for the place they live, that they're doing all of this besides just not paying. It seems like they've gone way beyond the not paying thing, right? Literally leaving garbage out and getting fined for that. So it seems like before the tenants were even there, he made some bad decisions to get them.
This is a first time landlord, first time everything, so he fell into the thing with it, which is real estate is a good investment. This will help me pay my mortgage. This will, I have a place to live for free. When you watch YouTube, you go on like, what's his name? The Punjabi dude. You know who I'm talking about? The Punjabi guy that he talks about. No.
Oh, the minority mindset, that dude?
Yeah, minority mindset dude. Like, oh, you should just buy a house. You should just
FTX as well.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, people make this landlord thing out to be such like an easy thing. And VITALY's a landlord. He knows exactly all the shit that you have to deal with to make it happen. So when I see people saying, oh, you could just be a landlord and it's passive income for the rest of your life, I'm like, bro, you don't deal with, if you've never dealt with tenancy issues, there is a certain level of tolerance that you need to have, a certain level of know-how, and a certain level of just pain that you're willing to tolerate to get shit done.
Agree with
that
you on
actually
all those
makes
points.
make it a profitable venture.
Yo, what do you think what do you think Jyothi Desai in the chat says the best way to tackle the debt is to lower the? Do you think this makes sense? If we lower the rates, that'll help student debt, or no?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think that does anything.
Well, the question is, the debt is already low rates, right? Most of it is already low rates for student debt 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it should already be low. So I don't think that's the issue here.
I think it should be it could be a combination of two things. Number one is you got to stop these colleges. Okay. And that's number one. These colleges are basically putting anyone and everyone and saying, okay, yeah, go ahead, get a student loan for the degree that'll never amount to the amount that you need to actually pay it off. But
I feel like we've been talking about that, the all-in pocket. Like, there's so many influential people in the world in economics business that have been saying that idea, and it hasn't made any progress in any political administration in a real way.
Because it's not a topic. No, it's a topic that like everyone knows is an issue, but no one wants to touch. And this is the problem with having this is the problem sometimes with democracy, in that democracy tends to, favor the vote banks rather than focusing on things that actually make the country more efficient. And it's really hard to get political leaders nowadays that are willing to sacrifice their careers, to say what actually needs to be said. So,
dude, I remember my senior year, I paid $20,000 for the home, the education, the room and board, all that stuff. I worked my ass off, bro. I had a part-time job 4 days a week. I drove 120 miles a day, 60 miles back and forth to college, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Sunday. And I used that money to pay off the loan, like before I ended off my senior year. And I think I paid $40,000 total, my cash, over junior and senior year. And then my parents helped me out sophomore, freshman year. But like, I think another thing is kids just having to make money while they're in college versus thinking their degree will pay for the college after. You could get a job during college and,
here's a comment that I always find to be so reductive. Someone's like, in Europe,
so cool, you gotta wear shades.
Education is free. College tuition is free in Europe. It's not free. It's just being paid by the taxes. That's all it is. Like, so many think, oh, healthcare is free in Canada. Yeah, but it's being paid by taxes. Go get an MRI in Canada. Go ahead. See what the waiting list is like in Canada for your MRI. I have friends and family that live in Canada and the UK. The UK has the NHS. Go ahead, ask them how the NHS is when it comes to
the NHS sucks. I've done some research on that. It's not that good.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times people are like, oh, well, this is free. Well, you're definitely going to get free kind of service,
Okay, Carlos, are you
Also-
high?
No, I'm not high. I wish. I wish. I certainly feel it. I'm just driving like over an hour.
Dude,
No,
where
my
are you
eyes,
coming from?
if it's my eyes, actually, I was Sonny has a podcast and he invited me to a podcast. So I went to his house and we did like a 2.5 hour thing on. It was kind of crazy how fast the time went by. We talked about a lot of shit, man. It was like finance,
got
love, life, UFOs, fucking US and going to war with China. I mean, just kind of, if you ever talk to him, you talk to him. So,
Did you bring up Enphase at all?
a little bit, talked a little bit about Enphase with respect to, identifying that opportunity and how he was able to identify that opportunity so young.
Cool.
So young, especially when the company was like literally on the verge of bankruptcy, like quarters away from bankruptcy, to make the bet that he did, whether that was smart or stupid, to be honest, like whether it was an impulsive thing that he got lucky or whether it was like, it was smart. But who's saying I got the tension?
We have 3 new members, Alex, Matt, and Kelly. So we're officially
What?
YouTube members now. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's so.
That's right.
I saw that in the.
And Chris is the one who actually pressed the button to make it happen.
Thank you.
Apparently I enabled it 2 weeks ago, but I didn't press the button to start it. And so I was like, oh, YouTube hates us or whatever.
Oh, well,
Okay.
to not derail the conversation, what you were saying, Chris, is very similar. Look, when in 2020 around the hype around Bitcoin, Vitaly and I both were looking at houses over in Texas, and I was looking at places like safe havens. I actually almost moved to Vegas in 2019, so I was researching this a lot about there's no state taxes. So you go, oh man, that's like, like $20,000 a year you could be saving. But the truth of the matter is, look at the property taxes in those areas. Some of those property taxes are more than what you'd pay in state taxes. So nothing's ever free. They're always going to find a way of getting you, or even like the switch to EVs. If you look at a lot of the gas prices that are out here, I think some of that is basically offsetting some of the cost that they're not making from all the EVs out here. Plus, registrations are higher for an EV. So to register the Model X was $1,800. That's not.
Speaking of EVs, you wanna get into Tesla deliveries real quick? Do some coverage on that.
Oh, I
So
didn't even see that they reported today.
they reported 20,000
low.
less deliveries on the street expected. Stock was down 4%, then it rallied back up, I think 5% to end the market. Do you think it matters that when I saw the news, I was like, oh, it's only 20,000 cars. It's not a big deal. But
it's not a big deal, especially since they gave guidance that that's what was going to happen. We just have to know if that really was, because they closed the factories down for roughly 2 weeks. If you think about it, closing a factory for 2 weeks and a quarter, 2 weeks is a long time, percentage wise, to what a quarter is. So personally, I'm not concerned. I want to look more at the numbers now. It's 619. Try $7 by me. $7 by me.
That's crazy.
that's wild.
I walk, I drive by these gas stations and I'm seeing $150, $175 for the totals. I'm like, who's still driving gas cars, man? It just makes no sense. But yeah, I want to dive into the Tesla earnings numbers. How did they do on earnings?
Well, earnings aren't out. They're that's still a low.
Oh, they
bar.
just reported
the delivery production.
deliveries.
Yeah,
Okay.
not
I
that.
mean, did they give a breakdown? How many
Uh,
Model S's, X's?
Model S missed by 2,000. Model Y missed by like 20,000. It was mainly the cheaper one, the S, the one that's not the big
The
one.
3. Did they give
The
any
3.
numbers on the number of people that took them up on the offer to transfer FSD?
No.
Because I'm actually looking to pick up a used Tesla right now, and I'm seeing, guys, if you don't know, there are a lot of Teslas right now that like 2022s, 2023s for $30,000, and they have 5,000 miles on them, because there were a lot of people that had bought the car right before they had the chance.
Wait, which one, Carlos? Which one? Let me know, son. Let me know.
literally go right. I'll send you one. Well, by me,
And then give them a link to the Hoy miles too.
There's a Model 3 by me. I was looking at a Model 3 2023, 6,700 miles on it. Okay. And it's like $29,000. That is so freaking cheap.
Tesla didn't miss anything. The analysts missed it. I like
Who
that.
wrote that?
That's hilarious, bro.
We're actually, I think we're going to
That's
see
what
some
didn't fuck
lower.
up. It was the analysts.
I think
Next
we're gonna-
time any company miss earnings, it's like the analyst, it's your fault.
I think there's going to be some misses, mainly because, like, and they explained it. They're going to be redoing a lot of retooling for the new Model 3 and for the Cybertruck in some of the factories. So yeah, I mean, this is just how, you know, things ebb and flow when it comes to production. When you do a new product launch, you're going to have to do retooling. You're going to have to set up the factory in a way that's more efficient for the new car to come out. So you know what? A lot of this stuff in the short term may look like, you know, it's bad for the company that they don't have enough demand. And if the stock does sell off, and I hope it does sell off, I mean, sorry guys, if you're investors, I'll be buying, you know. So
I'll tell you what, they're
not
not
sorry.
stupid. They're not stupid. They're going to I'm looking to pick up some too, but they're not stupid. If they have bad earnings, I guarantee you, like within a week, they'll announce the Cybertruck delivery event. Then they'll start to announce AI Day, Investor Day. They'll just try to, you know, just kind of flood the news with some other stuff.
Could Tesla buy back their stock right now, or that would be a bad use of their capital?
I mean, they have the capital and they have already green lit it. It's actually at a pretty good level if you know the company and you know the trajectory. But what are they going to wait for? You think they're going to wait for $100 again? I don't know that we're going to see $100 again.
I think they're beating though the 1.8 number, right? So from the calculating it, it's like 4,812. They have like 1.3 million cars right now.
So they need 500,000 in Q4.
So they need 500,000, which they can usually do in Q4. So
remember the report today said about 1.8. They didn't say they would be over 1.8, and that was something.
Wait, who said that? Well, who said that? Was it
Rob Maurer was pointing that out. He
Oh,
was like,
Rob.
that's the unique verbiage that they're using.
Well, but Tesla
Interesting.
themselves, Elon himself guided for about 1.8. So
and that
that's
was already
what everyone-
three quarters ago or something
right.
like that.
We're looking for 1.8. If it's
So-
if it's 1.79, the stock's going to tank.
It's going down hard.
30%.
It has to be over 1.8 for sure. In fact, it has to be closer to 2 to really be, because Elon's like, oh, maybe 2, you know, but still 1.8 is the minimum.
Digital right there. Digital Blade, California,
1.83 million. That's the way. Okay.
To get to
I think that's possible.
1.83
They can do 479,000 cars. That's possible.
Which is insane because remember, it was just in 2020 when they did 500,000 for the year. Let's just not forget that they're now doing 3 years later, they're doing the numbers that they did for the entire year in a quarter.
Well, 2018, when we were talking about it, they were making tens of thousands. That's what we were talking about. Like, oh, one day we'll have
hundreds of
Teslas.
thousands.
Yep. They move pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you woke up today, like forget about all the Tesla volatility, but 2018, you bought the stock, you went away, you came back, you're like, oh my God, what has happened?
Yeah. You'd be like, honey, get the red panties.
What do you want? Anything on Amazon?
$29,000.
Are you guys doing any buying in this market? Like
tomorrow? Well, I don't know if you want to go for it, but yes, I was thinking really hard. Do I buy Enphase as it crashes now or later? Like so.
Wait, why do you think later? You think? I think they're not going to crash on earnings. I think Q3 is baked in.
No. So
no, they ain't baked in, bro. That is not.
They got it for 500 million, which is 200 million less than last quarter. Like if they lose more than 500 million, that would be insane.
Well, no, if they say Q4 is going to be worse than we thought, that's it. Like all bets are off.
If they say that.
It's all about Q4. It's not about Q3. So if they say Q4, we expect to double our revenue. It doesn't matter what they did in Q3 because it's going to
all is forgiven.
All is forgiven. So I'm thinking, picking up another at least 100 shares. I'm going to try tomorrow. If not tomorrow, this week. That's what I'm looking at right now.
It's not. The thing is, it's not bad at these prices. I want to see the extreme fear. I want to see more extreme fear. I want to see more bleeding. I want to see everyone.
Honestly, I am not afraid of that because, like people keep talking about 80 like it's a bad thing. If it's already 120 and it goes to 80, I don't see that's a bad thing. You have to be able not obviously the people who need to sell who thought that they could make something in the next 6 months. Those people are sort of toast. And if you have your options expiring next month, you're toast.
You're toast.
Yeah. But I don't have any of that.
I always tell myself like there's still at the end of the day there's a finite amount of buyers and relatively infinite finite amount of sellers and an infinite relatively amount of buyers, and so markets in general favor buyers. And so who didn't sell at 120 that would then say, oh fuck it, I'm unloading at 80?
The people who sold at 85 Meta, those people, there's a bunch of them.
We got to look at the options chain. Is what we really got to do. Look at the options chain.
That's the interesting thing about what makes a market. Someone has to sell you the thing you're buying. Like I didn't get that until this year. Like, wait a second, if I sell this, like I have to sell to some. The only way it fills is
He
if
didn't get it
someone
until
Wait,
this
you
year, but
just
he had a
figured out how
YouTube channel.
trading
No, I mean,
works?
like I get it. Like but like more seriously, I was like, wait a second. If I buy a stock at 16, someone has to sell it to me.
Yo,
It's like,
yo,
there's-
Jason,
I
Yeah,
don't
but,
actually
but
get it.
if nobody,
I mean?
look, if no one sold any shares and people continue to buy the shares, then that will keep the price going
No,
up.
I get it, but like I don't know. This year, I realized, like, wait a second, this order can only fill if it fills because someone decides to let go. You know what I mean? Like, it,
Guys,
you
you're,
ever think-
you're following
you
Amit. His channel has 20,000
and
subscribers.
you realize how this works. You ever
like
think
I
about
got
this?
it. Obviously, I understood that, but this year it kind of hit home. I was
No,
like,
I
oh,
get
like,
you. I get
when I
you. We don't
buy this-
think about it, but there's always a buyer and a seller. It's always that.
yeah,
way.
like 2 years ago, I thought there was some magical genie just like selling me Palantir at $20, and like, no, it's some motherfucker was.
The
offloading
difference
It was Alex Karp. He was
It was-
dumping his shares
Yeah.
on you. That's
Yeah,
what he was
it's-
doing.
It's all about the
Alex
exit door, right? If everybody's
Someone
yelling
gave him a
fire,
bunch of shares, and he was like, "Here, take them."
it's all about the
Usually
exit,
it's
right?
market.
So if everybody's yelling fire in the movie theater,
Yeah.
right? So what happens? Everybody tries to get through one door, and you can't. And the guy selling tickets at that exit door gets the name his price. Basically.
No, but isn't that so crazy? Like when you sold some of your end phase at 340 or whatever,
Yeah.
like you were giving it to some schmuck that thought 340 was great, and you were
Right.
like, "Fuck 340." But if that schmuck didn't want to buy it at 340, you would not be able to get that $340. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
true?
like-
But you know,
No, I mean
yes,
you
I know what you're
would
saying.
because it's an available pool of money. It's like this. If let's just say that the four of us had $10 million in Tesla each, right? The moment one of us sells, it devalues the rest of the stock for everyone. So we're not all able to sell all of our shares and all of us make that money. You understand? Because you are diluting the market cap, which then dilutes everyone's shares. So the money that you have in the stock market is assuming nobody else sells.
No,
Everyone's
but like if you sell Tesla at 250 today, someone has to be buying it at 250, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like there's no disagreement around that. There's no way like some magical.
Yeah, that's
market
how
maker.
liquidity works. That's what liquidity is.
So if
there's
no one
always-
was willing to buy it at 250, you can't sell it basically.
Well, no, then it's
No.
249, and then it's
Yeah, then
248, and then it's 247.
that's how
That's how it
bid and
goes down.
ask. That's how
No,
bid
but
and ask
what
works.
surprised me is that in real time, like I can sell it at 250 and almost instantaneously it gets filled, right? Like
Right,
for many
because-
liquid stocks. But
Okay,
that's crazy that somewhere around the world in 0.2 seconds it gets filled because there's that
okay.
much.
But do you see
So-
the volume? Do you see how do you look at the volume? Millions and millions of shares.
That's what I'm
It's
saying is
just
crazy.
So
That's what I'm
many
saying is crazy.
millions of.
Yeah, the thing is, Amit, you are buying 2 shares, so it doesn't mean anything. But there are big institutional investors, and they can't do what
They
you're
can't,
saying.
yeah.
They can't just
Mhm.
flood 1 million. I want to buy 1 million shares on the open market. They don't do that. They have algorithms that buy it throughout the day or throughout the week,
Yeah.
so they spread it all out.
Or
Otherwise,
they buy it
those million
off hour.
shares, Tesla 250 would go straight to $1,000.
Yeah.
No, literally, it goes straight to $1,000.
You've heard no, that's funny. You heard
Oh my
TJ
God,
TJ
that's
the
crazy.
TJ the Wheel Deal talks about that when he tries to do his covered calls or he tries to buy. Like he was telling me, it took him a second to get 1,000 shares of Enphase or 2,000 shares of Enphase. It wouldn't complete right away. You have to kind of find the people that are willing to sell it at that price, and also the money that's coming in and coming out is changing the price.
Yeah.
So it takes a while to get those orders filled.
And that's why when you invest in companies, you have to always look at the liquidity. Like there is a company right now that I am investing in that I spoke to, some of the Patreon people.
I know the
on.
one you're talking
Yeah,
about with
and the
zero.
one
Fucking, did that fucking. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Now,
Which
the
one?
thing-
Like
Which one?
the weird OTC pink sheet stock.
No,
That's
that
not a
shit's
pink sheet
gone.
stock.
That
It's
shit's
not a
gone.
pink sheet stock.
That shit's
It's not a
the
pink
way of the
sheet
dodo
stock.
like 3 months
No,
ago.
pink
or
sheet,
whatever.
I'm sure
No,
I
no,
still
no.
got that garbage there, but it's like there's no volume. It's like 50,000 shares traded a day. So you're
No,
like
it's
sitting there with your money, like
no, it's a REIT. First of all, it's not a pink sheet company. It's got $100 billion,
selling pink
$100
sheets
million,
now.
$100 million company.
Chris,
But no, the
$100
point
million
is,
not a lot.
the point is you can't put order in for like 10,000 shares and the total liquidity for the day is like usually around 10,000. What's going to happen is when you, and especially if you do it as a market order, what's going to happen is everything is going to get filled. So the first guy who's got the order for, to sell at 410 is going to be able to, clear him first, and then the 420 and then the 450. And then some asshole might be sitting there with a joke bet and put in like $8, and you might actually end up executing at $8. And that does happen where people will actually put in a ridiculous price just waiting for one idiot to come in and swoop it in. Like, I know people right now that do that for a living, where they just put an order into the system for a ridiculous price. Like, dude, especially
you've just described all of crypto.
Yeah. You won't believe. I look at sometimes on the options chain, and I'm just like, wait a second. Why is someone fucking selling a put for 2026, and like it's only a couple of cents difference, like in terms of break even for today's price? Like, why not just buy the fucking stock today, not try to fucking sell a put 2 years into the future? Like, it makes no sense. But you know,
You think those are algorithms doing that stuff for those pennies?
No, he
Or do you
says
think
those
it's
are
actual
people. Those are people doing it. It's just throwing them out there on the what if it gets filled.
Yeah. Yep.
So how much volume do you think a stock needs every day for it to be investable? Because you need the liquidity, right? In order to invest.
Well, it depends. A lot of it depends on the market cap. The bigger market caps usually have a lot more liquidity. Like, you're never going to have issues with liquidity on something like Google, Amazon, Meta, because there's just an active buying, buyers for them. On the other hand, there's a lot of companies whose, believe it or not, they could be large market caps, but the float is actually really small. That's a possibility too, where there's not as many outstanding shares that are out there. Also, this is where you have to look at the institutional holdings, because if they have high levels of institutional holdings, institutions don't exactly buy and sell every day. So once again, these are all factors that you kind of have to play into when you're investing. But the point is, you should rarely ever do market orders.
Yeah.
You should always do limit orders.
Unless you're running out the door.
Unless you're running out the door, then definitely do market and get the fuck out.
That's okay.
Okay.
So how about I ask a question that I asked Sonny? He gave me a pretty good question. It's completely random since we're at like the 10-minute mark. So I asked him a question. I said, I made a statement and then I asked him a question. My statement was that the thing that motivates people is never the thing that they have in abundance, right? So if you have a lot of money, then you're not really motivated by money. If you have a lot of girls, you're not motivated by getting girls.
That's why I'm not motivated by girls.
Because you just got bitches everywhere behind that brick wall.
Bro,
that's how you tell you about it in the house. So anyway, so that would be my question. What is it, the thing that's like truly motivating you? I feel like men without a purpose don't feel like men, right? So for men here, you need to feel useful. I think men, even more so than women, need to feel their utility.
Damn, he just insulted 5 people.
No, I don't think that's an insult. I don't think women are motivated.
I'll take the other side. Women, I know you want to feel useful too.
I think it's a completely what men and women mean by feeling useful is completely different. I don't think.
I know what you're saying.
I don't
think.
Right,
so you go first. What motivates you?
I've been thinking. I've really been thinking hard about that. I think feeling. I don't know.
You just answered it on a podcast, so you got to have something.
No, I asked him. I asked him that question, and I had the same
sorry.
sort of response. I think for me, it's a legacy thing. Like, I've kind of been rediscovering music again. It's becoming more important to me now to have something that's going to outlive me, but not just outlive me, but outlive me in a way that somebody that experiences it will actually get to know like who I really was at this time. Right? So say 20 years from now, like, I listen to artists, musicians that are dead, but I feel like I know them in a way, say through their music, because they really captured some essence of who they are in the music that you can feel like you get to know them. So that's what mine would be right now. And there's other questions within that, but I'm curious what you guys would say, because I think because for me, like, listen, money is not abundant right now, so there is a certain amount that money is what's driving me. But then I think about what would happen after that fact, right?
So I'll share this. People should watch this. And I keep talking, even if
I didn't get to watch it yet.
Me and Amit had multiple conversations on this, and Carlos, me and you had conversations. It's like that. Are we just making content? Like, I think that's a dirty, nasty word. So me and Amit at least talked when we went to Cheesecake Factory. Like, do we want to be the people who don't make anything of significance, or do we want to make something of significance? So that's always been on my mind. If what we're doing is creating something valuable and useful, or it's just more content. So, and because life is ending, I keep thinking about the same thing. It's going away. So I need something that will outlast me. So films are one thing that I stick to, because you could remember a good movie for 100, 200 years, obviously. Maybe not infinity. I don't know. A piece of art can last forever. But will our YouTube channel last forever? That's what I keep thinking about.
No.
Well, the creation portion of it won't, but the channel itself and the videos will. will last at
Well,
least.
no, it'll
Well,
get
no, because
buried
YouTube
and
won't
go
recommend
away.
it after, you know, we
It'll
stop.
get
Doesn't
buried
matter.
and go away.
It'll still be searchable. It'll still be something where
OnlyFans,
like
Jesus.
Yeah,
your
but no one's
parents
gonna.
will be able to
It's a broader discussion. It's a good one. Chris, you can go ahead. My answer.
I'd say in the short term, well, when I was younger, I was motivated by hate, like a lot of hate. Like I have so much fucking hate in my heart for some people. Bro, I'm nothing
Me
but
too.
motivated by fucking hate. Like all my
That's
need
where the
to
Darth Vader vibe comes from.
my need to fucking like prove these motherfuckers wrong. Like I had some self-worth problems because of these people. Like, and so I realized much later on in life that it wasn't me that was the problem, it was them. They were the insecure ones. So a lot of times when I did things, I thought, you know what the fuck is going on? Like I should be more liked. I was a hard worker, I achieved things, but I realized that there were going to be people who hated me for it, right? And so because of that, I ended up in like a not so great place in my life. And then later on, I was like, I need to fucking do way better than these guys, and this way I will feel good about myself. And I did do better than them, and now I'm just like, whatever, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, it fucking really doesn't matter. They're nobodies to me. They're nobody in my life. They're no one that needs to even have an iota of relevance to me. And so now over the last
Let's hear
5
some
years,
names, Chris. Let's start throwing names.
So now over the last,
point them out to me, Chris.
no, over the last 5 years, I realized the only thing that really motivates me right now is seeing the people around me happy. Like literally seeing my wife happy, seeing my brother happy, seeing my parents happy, seeing my in-laws happy. Like that is what gives me joy. Like seeing my in-law.
The question is what? Yes, that's what gives you fulfillment. But the question is, what makes you get up and expend your fucking energy every day? Like,
yeah, that's what it is, to make everyone around me happy. You know, like the way that I typically like doing it more recently is being able to provide a certain amount of value to them, whether it be monetarily or through presence, right? I used to think the presence wasn't nearly as important as money is. Like, just give people money and that's it. Like, no, you need to actually be there for them. And the only way you can actually be there for them is having the financial freedom to be there for them. You know, that's the biggest difference. So right now, if you like my brother-in-law, he was going through some tough times the other night, like at fucking 2:00 in the morning. You know, I went over there. I just said, hey, let me hang out with you. Let me, make your day a little bit brighter. So these are the kinds of things that like motivate me now, that I can actually have a positive impact on those around me and then carry that forward. Like I want to take my nieces from like my brother's daughters. We went to Disney a few months ago. We had a great time. Like they're doing like this whole thing with Christmas now at Disney. And now I'm thinking about it. I was like, dude, how amazing would it be to like go with the kids to Disney and have them enjoy it? Like, I still remember the sadness on my niece's face when we went to Disney has this thing where you can get dressed up like a princess, right? Like they'll actually do that for you. And we didn't realize that you actually had to have a reservation to do that. So she was looking forward to that all weekend. And when she couldn't do it, I felt fucking sad as shit. Like, fuck, man, what the hell? So now I'm like thinking, so now I'm like, oh man, I want to make sure that next time we have a chance, we're definitely going to do that again. You know, I think I'm spoiling the shit out of her, but whatever.
I'll tell you a story about that, because the fact that you said hate resonated with me. There was a period in my early 20s where I was very, very motivated by hate. I've had a lot of people sort of always trying to put me in what they say is my place, and I've fought very hard to not be put into the box that people tell me. So I worked for a company, and I helped this guy grow his business probably from, I don't know, maybe a couple $100,000 a year to like over $1 million a year. And the guy was never sharing any profits with me. The guy was paying me absolute shit. And I remember I hit a really low point when I was living in Staten Island with no car. You could imagine living in Staten Island with no car. My car died the first week that I was out there. So I was basically just homebound. I couldn't move. And I was so broke that I was ordering Domino's pizza on a credit card. Okay, that's how low. And I'm working every fucking day, and my entire paycheck was just gone. And I'd be giving it partially back to this boss that I was working on for some like loan or whatever that he had given me. And I remember I just hit such a fucking low point. I was watching, this is when I didn't even have cable. I was watching the Gladiator movie every single day on DVD. It's the only thing I had. I didn't even have TV. I would watch the Gladiator movie every single day as my only TV and I drink 1 beer every day. And just watching this movie every single fucking day, watching this guy, Marcus Aurelius, fucking rise up and whatnot, and ordering Domino's pizza on a fucking credit card. And I felt like such a loser. So I remember I started taping the receipts on the wall, the Domino's receipts, as like a reminder of like, I'm fucking failing, right? And I remember I had a conversation with him at what point, this guy who I'm giving all my money to and I'm helping grow his business, who's telling me they don't have any money to pay me. And I said something, he said something to me one time. He just looked at me and he goes, do you know what I do with your paycheck, man? And I was like, no, what do you mean? He goes, I take your paycheck and I put it in a shoebox under my bed. And when my son needs to go out and play, I give him your fucking money so he can go take his stupid girlfriends out. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, you are such a fucking asshole, you know? But I'm telling you, there was no better.
See you Monday.
Like,
Damn.
it was such a motivator. And in the end, I won that battle. I was able to leave and grow my own business and do whatever, but I never, ever forgot those moments. So yes, I do think that to a certain extent, you really need some people pushing back at you too.
It's weird. You guys are talking about,
of you.
It's actually weird hearing you guys speak about hate being the motivation. I'm surprised actually. Because my motivation was always, when I was younger, not to waste my life working for somebody else. That has always been my motivation. Every time I got, even when I went to Bloomberg, day one at Bloomberg, I'm sitting there at the computer screen, tearing up. No joke. It was really pathetic. I'm like, because I saw 50 years. I saw 50 years of sitting at that desk, day one, and I was like, this can't happen. So that was always been my motivation, not to sit at the desk for 50 years and do something else that means something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's horrible. It's,
by the way, some people in the comments, I told you that was early me where I first was very hateful and vengeful. Now I realize that none of that matters. So you know what? That's what happens. I still remember there was my dad, when I first had joined the army, I told him, I was like, hey dad, I'm joining the army. He's like, you're never gonna make it. You're not the type. And I remember that shit, it stays in your head. And I remember when I was done with basic training, and my dad was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. I was like, yeah, okay. Inside, I was like, I got this motherfucker. But I remember the entire time that I was at basic and every fucking difficulty that came my way, it's just those motivating words that you'll never make it, bro. The need to fucking prove people wrong can be a very powerful motivator to do way more than what it is. I think the worst thing you can have is a comfortable life where no one challenges you. No one puts that. So right now, I thank my enemies. I thank all the people who fucked me over or dicked me over. Like, thank you. You made me realize what I needed to do to be better than you.
Send them gift cards.
That is exactly
Amit, how about you?
I think for me, I think that I've had a life where I somehow, this is going to sound really weird, but like I always figured it out when it came to doing something. Like it was really hard to, get a girlfriend. I figured that out. It was really hard to like do well in
He's
school.
like, you just roofie them.
No, my God, no. Carlos, no. Like, but it's just been like moments in life where like you have these obstacles and then you figure it out, right? And like somehow, some way, and I figured it out, quite frankly, a lot earlier than I thought I would figure it out by the sheer nature of me figuring it out. And I failed at music. I want to be a musician. I failed at basketball. It was just horrible at basketball. And then I found debate. And a lot of people know my debate story. I became like the best fucking debater in the United States of America. And that happened with a lot of hard work. But like I ended up figuring out my thing, my journey, my role in life. And so I guess for me now in this journey that I have of building a startup, there are very few moments in life where you have an opportunity to actually like just go for it and have people like you and this whole community that supports you going for it. And to me, that's what motivates me. This idea of doing the impossible. There's this quote by Nietzsche that's like, I know nothing other than to dare the impossible and try. And it's like, there's nothing else cooler than just going for the most fucking impossible, crazy thing you can imagine, like trying to build $1 billion company and just fucking doing it heads down, especially when my parents are the most supportive parents in the world. Like I don't have Chris's situation where his dad's like, you're not going to make it. Like my mom's like, nope, go do it. You're going to make it. And so like, I don't have the external kind of negativity motivating me. I have all the positivity from friends, family. I was on the gym today. I was on a treadmill today. I had one of our investors call me up and just talk for 5 minutes talking about strategies. Like I've just gotten so much fucking support Like, I cannot be the guy if I make it in life being like, man, they didn't believe in me, because it's gonna be bullshit. Like, I'm gonna be like lying through my
After
teeth.
this podcast, you need to go to your dad and ask him to just punch you in the face like as hard as he can.
I think we
Just
need some
after this.
raises. What do you
Yeah,
think,
me too.
Vitaly? I think we
No,
need
but
some
my-
raises.
My point is
he's
that
lived
at
a privileged life. What can we say?
it's not even about that. It's like, of course, there's like little, you know, things here and there, but in general, I've had a lot of support. So the question now is like, can I pull this off and can I fucking do it? And like, that's just motivating the shit out of me. Because if I
So
can
is
do
that
it,
your legacy?
really.
Is that your legacy to make like?
No, I actually don't give a fuck about the legacy, because I know I'm gonna die. No one's gonna remember me and forget 5 years, 5 seconds after I die. So I used to care about legacy a couple years
after
ago.
you're dead. No one
And no one's gonna get like, we're gonna forget about Michael Jackson the next 100 years, bro. There's like, and he's
I
most,
doubt that. I doubt that.
No,
I think then the next
No.
1,000 years, right? Like things,
Well,
we
the
forget
next-
about things. Life moves on.
the
you
next
know?
1,000, but the next 1,000, that's a fundamentally different species of people.
But my point is, when you die, it does not matter. You're dead. So any legacy you leave, you're dead. It has zero impact on you. Like, I guess if you feel good that you left some immortal film that people watch, whatever.
what
But
I
like,
think
it's
it- what
about
I
the
think
here
it-
and now. You know,
What I
like that's what matters.
you're right. But what I think it comes down to is how are you enjoying the last 20 years of your life, right? Because at the last 20 years of your life, you're not going to be able to do any of the things that you were doing for the mid 40 years of your life. So how are you enjoying those last 20 years?
Bro, by
You're
knowing
somebody-
I went for it and I pulled it off. Like, and in those 20 years, I want to still be going for it. Like, if this fails, if that fails, if YouTube didn't work out, I would still, like, I was thinking about this in the gym today. I don't understand how a human cannot be ambitious. You're a fucking human being. I know the way you grow up and stuff affects, but you're a human being. You have a chance to go for something. So if everything fails, I will get a 9 to 5 and I will still do something on the side and try to make it work. Because I just can't be, as Vitaly said, wrapped up in that job all day, not doing shit. That's why I think Finance Junkies works. Because all of us, how much of a fucking commitment is it 5 days a week to show up and do this? And we just do it. And we're not getting paid that much for it, right? But we just
listen,
do it.
I got home. I didn't think I had to work last night, but they called me in. So I got home at 5 a.m. I got out at 5 a.m., was home at 5:30, back up at 10, drove an hour or whatever it was to get down to where Sunny is, did the pod for 2 hours, then got back in the car, drove back here, came straight in. And this is my day off.
The game of doing it, the process of fucking doing it. And that's what I'm motivated by, because I have the opportunity to try.
This is like probably one of my favorite scenes from a movie.
And time for our daily.
I thought we were.
You're muted.
I think that is probably one of the best things. Don't let your enemies become the people that that drive you crazy. Instead, use that as motivation. But at the end, you know how I know we're all really good friends at this point? I mean, before we were just like 4 guys doing a podcast, but I think of you guys as friends now. Is because we insult each other and we can still go on and still have a good conversation. Like if you can insult another person like fully to their face, and then the next day still be cool
Over
with
the
them,
internet.
That's
Not
over
easy.
the internet.
Yeah, but it's over the
not
internet
easy.
because no one. I want you to say some of that shit to my face.
Everyone,
Yeah.
Let me get
everyone, everyone hears how The Dark Knight Rises, right?
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, at the end, the way he gets out of the cave is he gets the advice that says you have to like let everything go. You have to just believe that you can do it or something. And that's why he finally makes it. I think that for me, and I think for a lot of us, that's motivating, right? Just let every fucking belief go and go for it. And I think that at some level, whether it's for family or whether it's for financial motivation or trying to build something, that is purpose. It is taking the route less traveled. I believe it is the objective path.
You're gonna quote Robert. You're gonna cross Frost now.
Robert Frost. Yes.
Bro,
if
I'm
you
waiting
do
for
it- if you do
Dawson's
this-
Creek. Can you quote from that too now?
Yeah, I can't go. From that. You do what everyone else.
He's gonna be like,
is
it was like
doing.
that episode of Friday Night Lights.
No, but true. It's like
You
it's
were
even
down
in
by
investing.
3.
If you buy the same stock everyone is buying outside of like big tech or whatever, you might not get the biggest returns, right? It's like you have to go you have to be a contrarian at some level of your life. And when for the big decisions, if you make a contrarian decision and you actually pull it off, it's the most meaning you can ever hope for. Because KRIS said he went to the fucking army in regards to, first of all, being an Indian kid. A lot of Indians don't go to the fucking army. Second of all, his dad saying he can't do it. And then he fucking did it. And like that feels like something. You feel meaning from that.
He took away my ability to quit. Like when he said that was the fucking point where I knew I just could not quit. It happens.
We got to do like an edition of this podcast where it's just life advice. Maybe like one Saturday every month or something. Like just like, or not life advice, but
It'll
us
come out
talking about
naturally.
life.
Don't worry.
Or just talking about life.
It always does. People tune in for the finance. They leave with, their heartstrings attached, like pulled a little bit.
It just that was just something that I was thinking about. I was thinking about like what is the end game here, because I feel like that my personal end game is closer than I felt it, closer than I've ever felt it, and so I'm like, you know.
Rango, I'm not talking about Palantir. I'm just saying in general, I was using it as an example, right? Like you always have to do something that everyone else isn't doing to get outsized returns, right?
I think you meant Palantir people too.
I didn't.
I agree with you.
I'm just making you as an example, but yeah.
But yeah, by the way, any real success is through contrarian means. There is no, if
100%.
everybody knows the answer to a
100%.
question, then there is no upside. That's it.
And same thing you said, Vitaly, bro. I am so grateful I'm not doing what 99% of kids in college that I graduated did, which is they're at fucking JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and they hate themselves. Like literally, I've talked to them. They hate their fucking lives. And I'm like, look, I'm not making as much money as you yet, but I'm excited to wake up. I get to talk to 600 people in the morning, talk about the market, like just like get after it for the day. But they're stuck looking at Excel.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's as long as you're doing what you actually want to do. That's what's important.
Right. And most of those people don't. Most of the people, they don't, which is the hard part.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for answering the question. I got a couple other zingers like that. Maybe we'll just
we should do this once every Saturday.
Like one at the end of each, because I got another one too. But
one last question.
Save it for tomorrow.
How excited are you guys for fucking Vegas, man? I'm looking at the group chat. I haven't been really talking much, but damn, looks like everyone is just psyched about Vegas.
Yeah, and Jeremy, we actually get to do the
I'm texting Jeremy tonight for Saturday and seeing if it's possible. Again, I hope Vitaly can make it. He might not be able to because of work, but at least Carlos, I know you'll be there Saturday, so that'll be good.
I'll be there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning. That's plenty.
It'll be fun, bro. It'll be crazy to see you guys.
I'm a little scared because I always tell myself, yeah, I can control yourself, but there's something about Vegas that brings out some side of me that, like, when we're out there, I'm going to tell you some stories. So you really know who the fuck this fourth finance junkie is.
Yeah, I've seen Vitaly in person. We've talked, but I haven't seen Chris and I like, bro, I talk to you guys more than I've talked to my friends for like years. Like, it's insane. So it'll be cool to see you guys in person.
We might have to rent a car and go to Red Rock Canyon and just have like a night of just chill out there with some beers. I don't know if that's allowed, but whatever. We'll figure it out.
We'll see. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right,
everybody. We'll see you guys 7 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
Later.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.